When baby Princess Leia was running from Flea and all of his goons, they really milked the scene for a lot of action that really wasn't there. We were all expected to suspend our belief that a tiny girl would be able to run away from some full-grown thugs. We're supposed to think that baby Leia has a chance because I guess it'd be scary if things got too real, or if, I don't know, one of the thugs stunned her with a blaster bolt, like the stormtroopers did to her in A New Hope. But no, Disney continues its tiring trend of trying to create content that's friendly for children and also entertaining at the same time. Sure, we don't get to see over-sexualized Twi'leks or overly violent battle scenes in Disney Star Wars, but they'll film Mulan in Xinjiang province and thank the local Chinese Communist Party authorities in the credits. You know, the same ones who are running that lovely Uyghur concentration camp. The thing is, watching a full-grown adult stun a young child would not even make the top 10 most messed up things that have happened in Star Wars, which is what I want to talk about today. You see, even though Star Wars has always been made with a young audience in mind, there are a lot of terrible, messed up things going on in the background of this universe, which are, out there for everyone to see. Look guys, I'm not going to be preaching about how spice is bad on this channel. Most likely that Devorian who broke into your luxury Coruscanti apartment and then took a dump in the baby grand was already a degenerate before he mainlined all that Sansa spice cut with Gungan adrenal glands. But what makes Star Wars kind of a confusing franchise is the fact that many of the franchise's greatest heroes are all spice smugglers, aka drug mules or traffickers. Whether their products are good or bad, drug dealers are usually involved in adjacent industries that are objectively very evil, like human trafficking, carrying out gang wars, or maybe modifying a car that you've only leased, which completely would void the contract. Now, personally, I love Han Solo, but if you think about it, this man has the body count of an African warlord, and he's probably moved enough spice to ruin millions of lives, and created thousands of orphans and crack babies as a result. He's also helped move tons of product created by an industry that heavily relies on slave labor, just like Walmart. And all of this is done so that Tracy over here can see the energy coming out of her chakras whenever she closes her eyes. I mean, every time this broad lights up a death stick in some bougie Coruscanti nightclub, an innocent Twi'lek child is ripped away from their mother's bosom and sold to the spice mines on Kessel, never to be seen again. But still, Han Solo is my favorite Star Wars character. It's called compartmentalizing the evil actions of your heroes, which is why I'm really pissed off about the last season of House of Cards. Officially speaking, the Republic's constitution outlawed slavery. Realistically speaking, slavery is practiced in many areas of the Republic. And I'm not talking about like modern slavery where someone is financially trapped into a job that they don't want to do. I mean, that is bad. It's bad. But you're not working in a spice mine 7 days a week with an explosive planted in your head in case you try to run away. This type of slavery was especially present in the Outer Rim territories and other areas bordering Republic space like the Zygerian Empire. But the most messed up case of slavery in Star Wars has to be the creation of the clone army. These clones were born and raised for combat and given no choice in the matter. If these clones tried to run or leave the Grand Army of the Republic in any way, they would become deserters and risk imprisonment or even execution. And so yeah, the most civilized part of the galaxy, the core, basically supported this without really thinking about it. Let's also not forget the fact that these clones were genetically enhanced so that they could grow at twice the rate of the average human. This means that it only took 9 years for a clone's body to fully mature to adulthood. The problem was, emotionally and mentally, these clones that defended the Republic were still 9 years old when it came to how they thought. Which brings us to our next taboo that Star Wars seems completely okay with, and that is the usage of child soldiers on the battlefield. Whether it's Anakin blowing up the command ship during the Naboo blockade, or the Jedi's legion of Padawans serving on the front lines of the Clone Wars as commanders, it's just not okay. How a society treats its most vulnerable and naive individuals says a lot about the values of that society. In Star Wars, they're sent straight to the front lines to die in combat. Here in our own society, we try to sell them crypto coins and NFTs, which is why all you crypto bros out there, please stop sending me emails. I'm not going to sell your Ponzi scheme. You guys should be in jail. Grand Theft Auto, Doom, Postal, What do all of these things have in common? Well, two things. One, back in the day, journalists and parents hated these video games because of their depiction of violence, gore, and other terrible things. Parents even believed that these video games were turning their children violent. No, it was you that was turning your kids violent because you're a terrible parent. And the second thing about these video games was none of them allowed you to murder children. As a matter of fact, most open world style sandbox games didn't even include children NPCs in the first place, so you couldn't do something like that. Now, personally, I don't care what kind of content you put in your art, but in Star Wars, on numerous occasions, we get to see children murdered. The most famous occurrence is during Order 66, when Anakin enters that room full of younglings. But then, in an episode of the Clone Wars, it gets even worse. A bunch of Trandoshans have created a reservation for them to hunt in. Their prey? Well, it's captured children, of course, specifically Force-sensitive children. It's basically the plot to Predators, but with kids. And yes, we even see the Trandoshans murder a child in one of the scenes. Another shocking example of child murder was the Padawan massacre carried out by the Jedi Covenant during the Old Republic period. The Jedi Covenant received a Force vision that one of their Padawans would create great suffering to the galaxy, and so all of the Jedi Covenant masters decided to murder their own Padawan. This, of course, did lead to more tragedy and basically expanded the Mandalorian Wars to the entire galaxy, so prophecy self-fulfilled. Yeah, the Jedi are as cursed as this hairless Wookiee. And then lastly, while this isn't murder, Darth Vader did cut off the arm of his son, and he also tortured his daughter. I know Vader didn't know that Padme gave birth to the twins, but he has the Force. He can definitely sense his connection to Luke and Leia. And at worst, you could have like a Star Wars Maury episode. You bring Padme back from the dead. She's a little more overweight, she's wearing a combat suit, and she's dishing a lot of shade at Darth Vader. But ultimately, we would get to find out who the father was. And so would Vader. Enough with this children murdering kind of stuff. It's terrible. Now let's talk about children murdering their parents. Patricide. Patricide is equally as messed up, especially in the case of Kylo Ren. Here was a spoiled brat who most likely didn't get enough attention from his well-intentioned senator mother and totally legitimate businessman father. He had everything in the galaxy he wanted. He was basically Star Wars royalty, and naturally, he would rebel by going towards the dark side. And he would also begin channeling the vibe of his war criminal grandfather, Darth Vader. When Kylo Ren's dad tries to stop him by using the power of love, all he gets for his troubles is a lightsaber through the gut. While we're on the subject of family-on-family violence, in the Star Wars galaxy, unfortunately, there is domestic violence. I mean, sure, we can't get realistic battle tactics or gruesome plasma-caused injuries, but yeah, let's just perfectly recreate the intimate struggles that every couple goes through, because that's what we want to see in Star Wars. Replace the wife beater with some Jedi robes and crystal meth with the dark side, and you have a paranoid Anakin Skywalker who believes that Padme is plotting against him, with Obi-Wan Kenobi inside of her. I think. He has the high ground. Anakin would force choke Padme, which would break her heart and probably also her respiratory system. And yes, viewers who grew up with the prequels got to witness the protagonist of the series turn from being an innocent young child to a wife-beater wearing abuser. Yeah. Darth Vader messed up a lot of things in his life, not just Padme's throat. He also helped destroy the Jedi Order he devoted his life to, ruined his relationship with almost every person he knew, but his biggest mistake, the one that he would regret every day, was not knowing that Luke and Leia had been born and were still alive. His absence as a father led to his children being raised in completely different parts of the galaxy, and when they accidentally met for the first time on the Death Star, because they had no idea they were related, they would end up being romantically attracted to each other. We're not sure if Leia and Luke got more intimate than that kiss, but I did hear that incestual relations usually leads to dark side babies, like Kylo Ren. I mean, seriously, take a closer look at his face. You're telling me that Leia and Han Solo, two extremely beautiful looking people, created this? No, that's an incest baby. I spend a lot of time on Instagram, animal activist pages, posting comments about how delicious the animals are showing look. And then usually what happens is an activist will attack me, at which point I will take advantage of their kindness and open-mindedness by saying that I am from a famine culture and it is hard for me to see an animal not as food. I'm not a Sith Lord, but I'm pretty sure Darth Sidious would be really proud of me. But what I am against 100% is anything eating humans, because obviously humans are better than everything else. And so when we witnessed the Ewoks during the Battle of Endor slaughter an entire legion of stormtroopers and then eat them alive, I wasn't laughing. That's not funny. A stormtrooper helmet is not a bread bowl for brain soup. Which is why it's really the duty of every human-loving human to eat as many Ewoks as possible. Or at a minimum, we could figure out a way to destroy their habitat or something. Hashtag humanity first. Genocide is the deliberate killing of a group of people with the purpose of destroying either their nation or their identity or culture. It's basically what Putin's trying to do to the Ukrainians. It's also, unfortunately, a very common occurrence in the Star Wars galaxy. The Mandalorians genocided the cat people known as the Cathar. The Mandalorians, in turn, were genocided by the Jedi, and the Jedi were genocided by the Sith. But of course, that's only because the Jedi genocided the Sith as well back in the day. You'd think in the Star Wars galaxy there'd be enough room and technology and wonders that people would just kind of live in harmony and peace, but I guess that's not the case. The big T. You know, the word terrorism. It always gets me in trouble. What's up, Steve from the NSA? How was your July 4th weekend? In Star Wars, terrorism, or the unlawful use of violence in pursuit of political aims, is not only celebrated, it is actually the main tactic used by the heroes, the Rebel Alliance. I mean, for the longest time, we were just supposed to believe that the rebels were these clean-cut heroes who only killed bad guys in honorable ways. I mean, I've met rebels in real life, and let me tell you, the people who fight on the front lines of any conflict, well, they're kind of in their own category. I'm not talking about the ideological ones who start the movement, but fighters are fighters, man. And it wasn't really until Rogue One that we actually got to see rebels who looked like, you know, real rebels who did all the fighting on the ground. The unnamed characters who don't have merchandising deals and action figures or any lines. The same dudes who are willing to carry out a textbook ambush on an Imperial armored column in the middle of a packed city, collateral damage, and bystanders be damned. Terrorism, freedom fighter, it's kind of confusing. What's also confusing is that this list almost completely glosses over anything the Empire did. It's not to say that the Empire wasn't evil, but I guess the things they did weren't that taboo, you know, just massive violence like destroying entire planets. What is interesting is the Jedi and the Republic and the Rebel Alliance, the supposed good guys of this franchise, do appear on this list quite a lot. Something to think about. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below. And as usual, my name is Alan, reminding you my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy.